How many of you came here specifically to hear me? I'm just kidding. Okay, about evictions. Thank you, Stephanie. About evictions specifically. Who came here tonight? All right. Okay, cool. So this is a topic that I wanted to talk. I was like, I always want to bring some value to you guys. Instead of just, it's really hard to create topics. So if you guys have any ideas of what you want to hear, throw it up in that portal, and I'll take your feedback seriously and get those. I'll probably post something like, hey, give me some topic ideas, because I'm running out of ideas. So I'm kind of stalling until my PowerPoint's up. But evictions to me were so scary as a landlord before I actually went through one. And Evan, I'll probably mention this again, I went up to him, I'm like, I don't know what to do, this girl's not paying her rent, and he's like, call Fast Eviction Services and they'll take care of you. So that's what I did, and then I'm gonna go over that process. So does anyone, since I asked, does anyone have a topic about rentals, long-term, short-term, that you want me to talk about? They're like, how come they've never talked about this? Andy.
Tenant selection.
Tenant selection. I thought we did that.
Okay, tenant training.
Training a tenant. Okay. Selection and training. Evan.
How to buy a property knowing what rent's gonna be before you buy it.
Oh, that's, yeah, analyzing a property before. Okay. Right here. And it was Andy and Evan. I'm like, what'd you guys tell me again? All right, but if you do think of something even like at another date, just, again, throw it in that portal, send me a text. Yeah, Evan knows, right, that getting topics is kind of like, or if you're a landlord and you want to share your story, I'll interview you. So like I interviewed Sarah on co-hosting. So if you have a niche that you're in, or you just want to talk about, I know there's some landlords in here with several properties and you just want to talk about what you do, I would love to interview you. So that would be fun. We're just going over the legal requirements, some pitfalls that that you go through when you have a tenant and you're going through an eviction, and then how to avoid the delays. So I am not I am not an expert. I'm also not a legal professional. I am not an attorney. This is all my story and what worked for me. Oh yeah, I forgot I had to hit this one. I feel like this needs to come a little closer, because Rich will yell at me later that I'm not in the middle. Okay. So, who is afraid of the thought of going through an eviction? Yes? I know, I get all like, oh, but I've only been through one, and it's honestly not even scary anymore. It's not. I mean, yeah, it sucks. You're gonna lose some money. You're gonna lose some time. But it's actually a relatively easy process, and you'll see. Has anyone gone through an eviction in here? Just a few of us, huh? Okay. All right. Was it scary for you guys? Your first time? A little bit? What about the other times after that?
The pain on your pocket.
Yeah, the pain. All right. So what is an eviction and unlawful detainer? So our eviction, yeah, I don't even like that I can't see all the way over there. All right. So an eviction is just legally removing a tenant from your house that is yours, right? And then an unlawful detainer is the actual legal process that you go through. So, and then you sue them and they get out of your house. So my eviction, it took a little over 4 months. So I lost 5 months of rent technically. I'll get to that in a minute. So here's the step-by-step process. So the first step is serving the notice. Okay, so I served my notice, and then when I contacted Fast Eviction Services, they were like, well, send us what you sent them, but we're also gonna send our 3-day notice. And this was actually in March of 2022. So I'll tell you what happened in March of 2022. That was the last month of the COVID eviction memorandum.
Moratorium.
Well, you know, the M word. Okay, so after I called them, a little birdie was telling me that it was actually ending on April 1st. So I was like, oh, so they suggested that I wait a few days, which was like a week, to actually file. So just kind of let March rent go and file for non-payment in April. So that's what I ended up doing. And then the reason why I hired them too is I know that they have the actual form. They're going to do it the way they're supposed to. Like, do I post it and how do I prove that I did it? And it was easier to pay like the $395 that I pay them to start the process. And then the type of notice, so you have the 3-day to pay rent or quit. You have your 30 or 60-day notice for the lease termination, and then your 3-day notice to quit for illegal activity like drug use or property damage. Your next step is the legal action, right? So if the tenant is failing to respond, then that's when the unlawful detainer goes to the court. Unfortunately, my tenant responded, so it prolonged the process like another few weeks. So, which I was like, what is she, I was like, what is she like protesting? She didn't pay rent, but she was a professional, what would you call them? I don't want to say squatter, because I mean, she did originally pay rent. A professional renter? Is that what they're called? Oh gosh, okay. Anyway, she knew the rules, she knew what she was doing. A lot of you have actually heard my story before. The big thing, which Andy mentioned, which I was like, yeah, I probably should talk about that. Tenant selection. That's very important. I should have known. I made a lot of mistakes. So that's your second step. Your third step, this is their option is they have the 10 to 50 days to respond, and if they contest, it may go to trial. Well, mine did go to trial, which that was a joke. So a uncontested versus contested eviction, you have your contested, or uncontested is when your tenant does not respond, and then your contested is when they respond, and then it goes to trial. So, yay me, I won the prize to go to trial. Yes, Roy?
So you actually went to court?
Yes. Yes, and I realized I don't have any real professional shoes. I don't know if you've seen my these are my hiking sandals, my dress sandals. I didn't have like anything. I had to go and get like a $10 pair of dress shoes to go to court. Which I threw away right after that because I don't plan to do that again. Yes, Scott?
How did she respond?
I don't know how she responded. I mean, she's the professional, so, but,
Did
I'm
she
just kidding.
call you, or how did?
Oh, no, she didn't respond to me. So that was other things that they told me, which I'll get to, like what to do if your tenant contacted you, if they try to pay rent, things like that. But I think she just either responded to the paper, mailed it in, she might have walked it into court. I actually have no idea how she responded, but she did not tell me. Roy might know, yes.
Well, no, my experience is a little bit different because A, it was a commercial property, and the tenant was willfully violating things that he shouldn't do, you know. And in this case, he was leaving barrels of used oil, and you know these things are fire hazards, and you're not allowed to have them outside. He tried to convince me that yes, he could. And Pomona had given him permission to leave these barrels of flammable material outdoors. And anyways, so it was that and several other things. But when we did present the notice to him, he responded with his lawyer, who sent us saying that we were harassing him, that he was paying his rent, but he was breaking the rules of his original contract. And I make a long story short, we pretty much kept the pressure on and said we're going to take you to court, and this is why I was asking you, and basically told his lawyer if we go to court, we know we're going to win, and if he loses, and this was my question I was going to ask you, shop because it's gonna go on your record.
Right.
So what we ended up doing is we settled, we gave him the option, we said, we'll settle, you get out, we sort of dealt back and forth. He said, if you pay rent, you can stay 2 more months, so you can have time to get out. And you gotta get out by such date, and basically he went along with the plan so that it wouldn't appear on his record that he had been evicted.
I'm surprised you gave him extra time, because how would you know that he actually would move at that point?
It was in the thing that if he didn't, then we would proceed with the eviction. It was in the with a lawyer. It was written out that you're gonna have until, in his case, till the end of July of this year. So we gave him 2 more months so that he can get all his stuff together and get out and paid his rent. And then we gave him back his deposit, but just ended the relationship there. But if he didn't, then he would immediately go to eviction. Yes, he could have probably hung out for a while and the cops kicked him out.
Yeah, it's interesting, because I have a couple landlord friends, not in California, so maybe it's different in other places, but they serve a 3-day pay or quit the day after it's considered due, if they're not paid. So I'm like, that's interesting, but yes, Anthony.
So most people, they give you the grace period, like most places, the rent's due on the 1st, but you have grace period until the 5th. After the 5th,
I believe they would give it on the 6th to the 3-day pay or quit notice. That's what, from my understanding, what they would do. So, any other questions? Yeah, Andy.
A good judge story?
You want to? Can you save that for after on the stories you're going to share?
Okay.
Yeah. Yes, Mark.
Is the process different for just cause eviction?
Are you talking about like just breaking the lease?
No,
Just-
like if you need to.
Sorry, I don't know what just cause is.
Like if they haven't violated anything, but you need to kick them out because you need.
As of right now, I believe you can still do that, but I heard that I think that's changing. Have you heard anything, Evan?
Oh, that changed.
That changed already. Okay, can you talk about that?
What was the
when
question?
You come up? The question is, can you kick them out for just cause? So like say you wanted to move back in the house, or you wanted family to move into the house or something like that. I heard it was changing, I didn't know it actually changed, so, that's different, and I don't know, so I'll let Evan speak on that here in a minute.
Like, so clarification, like that's gone, there's no just cause anymore, or?
I'll let Evan, Evan, you wanna talk about that right now? Or,
No, I just know it changed, and I can't speak to all of it. I just know that the rules have changed now considerably on that. And I was actually gonna look it up for some of the details on it as you were doing that, so I don't wanna say the wrong thing. But there were a lot of changes within the last year. Ray probably is on top of that as well, but I was gonna look it up to double check.
he looks like, huh?
Depends on the city. Like LA City, they kind of got rid of stuff, which makes it really hard to do evictions. I mean, that's LA City in general.
Yeah,
And it depends on the county. And the question I'd have for you is, first of all, how much rent were they paying per month?
I'm sorry?
How, was this like a room, a mobile
It
home?
was a house, a 2-bedroom, 1-bath house,
Okay, yeah, because,
$2,500 a month.
ouch. So basically you were out 13,000?
Yeah.
Close to 20 after repairs.
Yeah,
Plus the fees, yeah, it was like 19 and change.
yeah, saying another 5,000 a fee.
So I did try the cash for keys method, everyone, just to let you know, and I went up to her and I'm like, hey, I'll give you, like, it's gonna cost me this much to go through the process, okay? I'll give it to you if you move. She's like, no, thank you. I'm like, well, how much will it take? So it's funny, because in her response, I actually bribed her to move, because I asked her about that. That was in her response, which nothing was valid. My attorney said, everything she said, it doesn't matter, she's not paying. She has no proof of any of these claims, so, but yeah, they were not.
Can you go back to tenant selection? I'm just curious about.
Okay,
Basically,
there's a video on YouTube that Rich plays over and over, and every time I see it, or somebody reposted on Instagram about me talking about that, and every time I hear myself, I cringe. Okay, so I did not vet her employment, and I did not call her previous landlord. I know it's embarrassing. This is 2 years ago. This is before I was the rental focus leader, so I've learned a lot since then. We'll go to Andy, and then we'll go back over here in a second.
Question, Farrah.
Yes,
Who's the most important phone call you make when you're screening a tenant?
to call their mom or dad? No, I'm kidding. You're gonna tell me, so I'm waiting.
The tenant, the landlord before her current landlord,
Okay.
and before you call that person, pull a property profile and find out.
I
who really
now
owns
do
the
that, correct, yeah. I now do that with my current tenant. I did that with him, and he's great. So I've had him for 2 years. Back
Yeah, I just wanted to add that, I'm pretty sure a bunch of people have talked about tenant selection and how to do that. And I heard that there's this new portal, with all the recordings in there.
Yes, that's what I told Andy, I'm pretty sure we went over that. Rich went over his whole lease, how he screens tenants, all that. Right, 1 second, Ray, go ahead.
When you did the fast eviction process, that website, how much did you pay altogether for that?
To start the process, and their prices are different now, so you'll have to ask them. And then if they contest it and they have to do more work, it's more. And then when you go to court, it's more. So I think it was like $395 to start it. I think it's like 5 something now. Then it was like another $1,300 when I had to go to court. I was gonna pull up all my receipts, but it was too painful. No, I just didn't have time. Yes, Evan.
Yeah, we just did one in San Bernardino County, and it was about $1,700 total. And it's like, that includes the sheriff's lockout, because it's, we'll do a 3-day notice. I'll give my 3-day notice usually. I'll do that first. If it looks, that's just kind of to get them to realize
Take
how
you
serious
serious,
it is.
yeah.
But if it goes to where we are going to evict them, we make sure, in this case, fast eviction service that we use, we have them do their 3-day notice, because the judges are looking for any error to just kick it back and you start over again. So we pay it's $150, $200, whatever for the start, and then about $1,250 for the actual eviction. And then if they don't respond or blah blah blah, but I think we spent almost $300 with the sheriff to do the actual lockout. Then you got to decide if you're going to change the locks yourself, because you got to make sure you're standing there with the key or a drill or one of your guys to get into the unit with the sheriff standing there and be there an hour early. So
I just hired a locksmith.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I wasn't gonna risk that. All right, so the next court hearing, it went to trial. Literally, it was kind of silly. We were going to be called, and then her attorney, or not even an attorney, it was the legal assistant or the court-appointed legal help, legal aid. And then we went back into the hallway, and we're talking, and then we settled on, I'm not gonna come back after her for damages, and she won't continue. And my attorney said, you could still go after her for damages if you want, and I just called it a loss. I needed the write-off anyway. It was just like, I'm over it. Yes, Ray?
Okay, something important when you get that stupid settlement, because they have the wonderful public, whatever, sitting there and helping every single evictee. There's no record of that eviction now. Which is...
That was the other thing, yeah.
Yeah, I was wondering, did you run a credit report on the person, or?
I didn't even call her previous landlord or check her job. No, I did not run her credits. I did everything you're not supposed to do, and it came out an eviction. This is why I wanted to talk about it and why I bring it up. It is embarrassing, but I made a mistake and I paid for it. So if you, and honestly, like, I had this feeling that I'm like, it'll be fine. I was more interested in getting my unit filled than I was with what actually ended up happening. So be patient. I would have rather waited another month to find the right tenant, or even 2 months. So 6 months is what Andy's saying. He's saying 6 months, and get the right tenant in the house. So luckily she didn't do too much damage to the house. It was only, I say only, it was like $3,500 paint and cleaning, and I wish I saved that video. I can't remember where it was at, but her dogs pooped all over and left me all kinds of presents. So that was fun. And then the final lockout by the sheriff, they'll set a date to come out, and they'll let you know when they're coming. And this was what they did. So This is my actual unit where they posted it in the window, and that way when you're driving by and you see a house with that, there might be a landlord that wants to sell their house because they're over being a landlord. So that would be a good lead. Okay. Oh, this is a good one. I did find this on Fast Eviction Services website. It's a map of what happens to what. So you serve your notice, and then if they answer, then it goes that way. If they don't answer, it continues to go. So the quickest time you can get someone out is 35 days, depending on the city or the court. Mine took 4 months, so it was about 120 days, which the longest on there is 75 to 90 days, but like I said, mine was 120 days. So it's not a fun process, but it gets done. You get through it. All right, some common pitfalls. So this is what I was mentioning to Roy with the different things. So accepting payment. If they're like, can I give you $300 now and then I'll give you another? I would not accept partial payments. I tell people no partial payments. If they're late, they're late. Yes, Roy?
Oh, no, I just did want to clarify one thing, that when we served the 3-day
Yeah.
notice to quit, we stopped accepting.
Oh, no, I meant like I was alluding to this slide when I was saying, oh, I'll go over some of that later.
Okay.
So, give me 1 sec. So accepting payment, reserving a notice unnecessarily. So if you serve it and then you serve it another, like, well, now there's I actually, oh man, I'm trying to remember exactly what happened. It was 2 years ago. I did this during the month of March. So luckily it didn't really set me back because I didn't file until April for April's rent, but they're really getting down over there. Okay, so man, it is really distracting me. I'm very easily distracted. So, okay.
Reserving the notice.
Yes, I'm trying to recall exactly what happened. Basically, she gave me some sob story, and then I was like, okay, fine, we'll do this date instead. So then I wrote on there, okay, now it's due by this date, and then she didn't pay by that date. So then I served another 3-day notice, I think is what happened. Anyway, don't do that. That's all I'm saying. Don't do that. Don't play their games. A lot of us have bleeding hearts. Don't buy the sob story, okay? They are professional renters. Thieves, there we go. Professional thieves, scammers, renters. They're out there. All right, entering the property without a 24-hour notice. I actually needed to do an appraisal during this time period, which I was really nervous because I'm like, how am I going to do an appraisal? This is I was doing a refi out of my hard money loan. So I'm like, how am I going to do an appraisal if I have no idea what the house looks like, and all that. So I actually have a picture. And then shutting off the utilities. So that is illegal. I know people I know. But this is, I thought I had a picture of it. I think I do later. Sorry, I do later. So yeah, shutting off the utilities is illegal as well. And then, Evan, you were gonna ask a question?
Yeah, it was the 3-day notice to pay or quit. Does a server have to do that, or you just?
I mean, you can do it, but like what Evan was saying is the judge is going to be looking at everything to make sure it's done properly. So that's why I just for in the future, this is what I would do. Okay, so they're late. Okay, and it gets to, I would probably maybe 15 days, and then I would do it. I would give them like a little leeway. Evan?
You want to go first or something, Ray?
Ray?
What we do is kind of like an unofficial 3-day notice if they pay the rent. If they haven't paid the rent and we have the same people do it every single month, we give them the notice. It's not quite official because there's a bunch of stuff required for it. And that kind of gets us, basically, we're going to start the eviction process unless we pay you. We do accept partial payments because we'd rather get some money out of them than none. And then usually if we get it, and to get to the sob story, say, hey, we say officially we're not the owner, the landlord needs the money and they have bills to pay too, and are really sorry about your situation because you borrow money from your friend or whatever. And basically it's a business, we're very sorry about your personal feelings, we sympathize, but you need to pay the rent. Either pay the rent or leave.
Right. There was another one. I know Evan, but I thought I saw another one. No? All right, Evan.
Yes, we'll give someone a 3-day notice that I know that I just need to get their attention, even if they say, hey, I'm gonna pay on the 11th, and they're due on the 3rd, and maybe it's the 5th because we're out of town. We'll give them a 3-day notice to get them to realize this is serious, because I say, you don't have to see me again. The next notice will be an eviction notice, because I don't have to come and serve them again, even if it's a week later. You, as long as you haven't accepted anything, you could just turn it over to your lawyers, and next thing you know, it'll be an eviction. That puts them on notice, because a lot of tenants know, and I had someone tell me this a couple months ago. They mentioned, well, you gotta give me that 3-day notice before you can evict me. They knew that.
Yeah.
So the first thing, get that out of the way and go, no, you won't even know anymore. So that's the first key. The other thing on a 3-day eviction notice, you cannot have late fees. You can only have the actual rent owed, because that's all you can do. You can't have the late fees in there. I've done it, but I know it won't hold up in court. So I personally filed the legal paperwork to evict without the attorneys. I've been through that. I just don't recommend it unless you're a glutton for punishment. Learned a lot, but I only give that 3-day notice as the main warning to just elevate it, and I give a few out all the time. There's just a few, and then if not, we do hire someone to do it. But if they're doing it and we hire them, we ain't stopping. And if you accept Zelle or anything else, and as you do, you can't just, and you get the money from the tenant and you're filing, you have to return that, and we've done that. You can't keep anything at that moment. So at that moment, you can't receive $100, $5, 90% of it. If you're starting eviction, you got to return every penny of that and say no. And so just keep those little things
And
in mind.
she did try giving me a partial payment.
Evan, how would you return that money if they sell it to you?
But I was gonna, that's a good question.
We wrote a check and mailed it back, and that's legal.
Per the attorney.
Per the
Yes.
attorney. We just
She
did it.
sent us $2,000.
Okay.
We wanted to keep it, but.
Right, yeah, you guys heard that, they mailed them a check per their attorney, and that's legal. Okay. All right, so some defenses, like I said, she said I was harassing her, or I bribed her. I bribed her that the water heater wasn't working, and I was like, that's interesting, because I just replaced it like 2 days after you told me it wasn't working, which I called, and they said, well, we can't be out there tomorrow, but we could be there the next day. I think that's pretty fast. And they just make up all these things. So one big thing is keeping your payment records, maintaining any maintenance or your maintenance logs and photos before and after, invoices, and then written communication with them. So that's all really important information. So like I said, I had the invoice for the water heat. I was all ready. I felt all prepared, and Judge didn't even want any of the papers I brought, which is very sad for me. I was ready, but I wanted to be like, law and order and present my evidence and everything. Dun, dun. Okay, great.
So, because the person could have also requested a jury trial, which would delay it more.
Oh gosh.
Yes.
I'm glad she wasn't that smart. Wow. Okay. So the landlord rights. You wouldn't think that you have rights. So this is the picture that I had it. So you have the right to collect rent, the right to evict for noncompliance with the lease, and right to enter the property with proper notice. So this was just, hey, actually, I don't give a 24-hour notice. I give at least a 48-hour notice. And then I don't include weekends, because I don't want them to be like, well, that wasn't, that was not a business day. And so I just make sure it's 48 hours, not including the weekends. You're probably gonna tell me it's wrong, but I just, for my own peace of mind, but go ahead, Rick.
They could refuse you entry still.
Oh. Well, then they're not compliant with the lease, then you would evict them.
You're already evicting them.
Well, at this